short video you're about to see is based on footage that was first recorded in 2009 in the Valley of the Kings when we recorded the tomb of Tutankhamun. The second part of the film is based on images recorded in Madrid while we tried to rematerialise the digital data that we recorded. And the final part has happened since January this year as we've put together the facsimile on its site next to Carter's house. The beginning of the film in 2009 shows large numbers of visitors walking in the Valley of the Kings. The problem then was explicit. The large numbers of people want to visit a site that was built to last for eternity, but was never meant to be visited. In the last few years, sadly, and at great cost to Egypt, there have been very few visitors. But the visitors will return. They'll return in far greater numbers than those who were there in 2009 and 2010.
The Valley of the Kings is visited by thousands of tourists each week, and on busy days, over 1,000 people buy tickets to visit the tomb of Tutankhamun. Their presence is a major cause of damage and decay in the valley. Today's visitors, more than ever before, are aware that their presence is a part of the problem. In 2008, Dr. Zahi Hawass launched an ambitious plan to preserve the valley by building facsimiles of the tombs that are either closed for conservation reasons or in need of closure for preservation. The first tombs that will be recorded are the tombs of Seti I, Nefertari and Tutankhamun. The University of Basel, with the Friends of the Royal Tombs of Egypt, the Foundation for Digital Technology and Conservation, and Facsimile, have been given permission to carry out this task. The original plan was to start work on the tomb of Seti I, but due to the discoveries in the tunnel and the continuing excavation work within the tomb, it was decided that it was better to start in the tomb of Tutankhamun. The equipment that had been designed specifically for working in Seti had to be modified and adapted for the smaller and more confined space of Tutankhamun. Facsimile basically is recording with three different types of equipment. The first is three-dimensional laser scanning and three-dimensional white light scanning, so recording the relief of the surface at resolutions of between 100 microns, a tenth of a millimeter, and 700 microns. The second type of recording is high-resolution photographic recording at 1:1, and the third approach is a close, analytical, observational study of the surface. Structured light or white light scanning is done using a NUB 3D AAA system. This recording system projects patterns of structured light onto the surface and records the distortions that happen to a theoretically flat plane. The data is sufficient to record the irregular surface of Tutankhamun, but not to record the relief carvings on the sarcophagus or in the tombs of Seti and Nefertari. Facsimile's real core skills lie in the field of laser scanning. After the initial survey work carried out in the tomb of Seti I in 2001, we developed a 2-camera, 1-laser system to record true resolution without post-processing at 100 microns. In conservation, lasers are often used for cleaning, in effect burning the surface of the object. One of the fundamental tasks that has faced Facsimile since we began this project was to persuade the entire conservation community that a red light laser scanner, similar to a barcode reader in a supermarket, is actually one of the safest methods of recording any object. On the area around Tutankhamun, as he lies in the figure of Osiris being drawn on his briar, the paint surface is incredibly complex. It's this complexity that will allow the facsimile to actually function and be convincing. This complexity, mixed with very high resolution colour photography and mixed with the observational details that we record from the surface and the close colour matching that enables us to produce a facsimile with exactly the qualities, the sheen and the tone of the original surface.
In 2009, Facsimile carried out the highest resolution recording of a large-scale site that's ever been attempted. We developed a lot of the equipment. We developed a lot of the protocols for doing the work. But really, that was the beginning. Virtual reality is one thing. Rematerializing the virtual is another. The first critical process is merging together the colour data and the three-dimensional data. This is a new technology requiring new skills and new solutions, many of which are being developed in-house in Factum. Once the data is prepared, it opens the doors to a new level of study, the most important of which is monitoring the condition of the surface. So when you can zoom into the data up to 8 times magnification and study it in ways that have never been possible before, you can understand what's happening to the surface, how it's breaking down, why it's cracking, why the black colours are cracking differently from the others. You develop an intimate understanding of why the surface looks like it does. It's interesting to think that Carter only had access to Harry Burton's amazing black and white photos. Now we can look at the surface at levels of resolution that were never imagined before. Data in a virtual form can facilitate study, but when it's transformed back into a physical state, it can transform our understanding of the importance of the object. Transforming the data into a physical state means cutting the three-dimensional recording back into a physical material at an accuracy of 240 microns, a quarter of a millimetre. Seeing a surface gradually rematerialise before your eyes is an extraordinary sensation. Adding colour to that surface is magical. One of the most important aspects of the whole of the production of the Facsimile was to build a flatbed printer that could overprint in perfect register, so we could print diaphanous membranes of printable, slightly elastic material and fix it to the undulating surface that's been carved from the three-dimensional data. Fixing the skins to the surface is an entirely new technology. It's dependent on pressure-sensitive contact adhesives. We use the microbacteria on the surface, which have a slight relief, as critical exact registration points, and position and reposition the elastic membranes until they're in exact register with the surface. That moment is another magical moment when the realism of the surface and colour merge, and when the object starts to feel like the original tomb. The colour and surface form irregular shaped panels divided along natural cracks on the surface. These are then assembled together to form an object that could be transported to Egypt.
very good for us because we have a solution. It's something making me happy because now if I have any damage, in our tomb, we can make a copy of this tomb and we can protect our tomb, the original tomb. It's something good for Egypt and for the people here in the future. I hope so. I hope.
Tutankhamun is the most famous king all over the world. It's not the most important one from the historical point of view, but it's the most famous one. As an architect, all artists like to build something which will be shown, everyone will see it and will appreciate it. But the concept here is completely different. You will build something designed by somebody 1,000 years ago and it will not be seen. Then it's just, for me, it's a different experience. Completely from whatever I did before. It's something new. It's not happened before, at least in Egypt. This is just a start.
You've just seen the facsimile rematerializing in the desert space next to Carter's house, in an extraordinary space designed by the Egyptian architect Tariq Wali. This is the beginning of the next phase of the project. Like every rebirth, it's part of a cycle. The next cycle will involve the transfer of the skills, the technology and the knowledge that's been acquired while we've made the tomb of Tutankhamun. Egypt's culture is cultural heritage that's of importance to the world, and it's important that that cultural heritage is preserved for future generations. The responsibility for looking after the site rests on the shoulders of many different people, and our hope is that with the help of the many tourists who come, with their assistance in understanding the fragility of the relationship between the past and the present, that we can build a new contract, a new way of thinking about how tourism can add to Egypt's heritage. Our hope is that the visitors will go to see first the original tomb and then the facsimile, and they'll talk. And it's talk that brings about change. It's people seeing and walking into the facsimile, and like so many people have done over the last few days, saying, it's the same, exactly the same, it feels the same. But that's not the end, that really is the beginning. And the beginning is to record the tombs of Seti, and then the tomb of Nefertari, and then less famous tombs that are equally important for the stories they tell. And we want to thank, deeply thank, from the many people in Factum who've worked on this project, to the many people in Egypt who've worked on this project, we want to thank everyone for being given this opportunity to demonstrate that when people work together with the right interests and in the right ways, remarkable things can happen.